Have you ever wondered about or been intimidated by credit cards and you're a college student? Well, then this is the right place for you. In this video, I'll be talking about the top 3 reasons that I think you should get a credit card, especially if you're in college. Now, I know this topic can be very controversial, but I hope throughout this video you can see just how important it is to have a credit card, especially when you're younger. Let's go ahead and jump into the first reason that it's important to have a credit card, and that would be building a credit score. For those of y'all who don't know what a credit score is, it's basically a score between 300 and 850 that tells lenders how credit worthy you are. Credit worthiness really just means whether a bank should or should not lend to you. So obviously it's important to make banks think you're pretty creditworthy. This becomes very important down the line, especially when you start looking into housing, whether that be renting or buying a house. It's also important for car loans and basically anything else that requires a loan from the bank or any other lender. And I know this is a video targeted towards college students and you feel like this might be too far out for you to start thinking about, but trust me, college goes by extremely fast and you're going to thank yourself later for looking into this. Diving more into the specifics of a credit score is based off of multiple factors shown on the screen. The 2 most important factors we're going to be looking at today is your credit history as well as your credit age. Now, if you have a credit card while you're in college, you start these things much earlier than the normal person, which actually boosts your credit score in the long run. At the same time though, you might be thinking, well, what does it mean if I'm an authorized user on my parents' credit cards? And this is actually a really good thing. My girlfriend actually does this, but it is also really important that you get your own card and start building credit in your own name rather than as a subsidiary to your parents. Not only does this help you to separate your finances from your parents, but it also starts to help you become financially responsible. And speaking of becoming financially responsible, this is another huge reason that you should get a credit card in college. I know so many people who don't even know how to use a credit card, let alone get one. And this is generally because their parents help out a lot in college, which is a blessing if you have that. But you do want to start to kind of detach from your parents financially, as I just mentioned, somewhat in college, as you start building into your young adult life. I mean, honestly, just think about in 4 years' time, if you're a freshman, you're about to be in the real world where you're going to be having to do all the same things your parents do. And if you don't even know how to use a credit card once you graduate, that becomes a big issue. One of those big issues can be credit card debt. And honestly, this is the enemy of every person in America, I feel like. So in getting a credit card early and using it responsibly, you're actually going to really lower your risk of going into credit card debt as you're more financially literate at this point. And I know one conflicting train of thought on this is that, well, if you're in college, generally people think of us as being a little bit less smart, especially when it comes to finances. But I think it's a really good time to learn the basics while you're in college, not making a lot of money, but also not spending a lot of money, hopefully. Also, just knowing these things in college puts you so far ahead of your peers, and one day they're going to be coming to you asking you for advice on this topic, which is really just a good feeling. Now, moving on to the third biggest reason why you should get a credit card are the rewards. Really, another way to think about a credit card is just another form of payment, like a debit card, that actually gives you rewards on every dollar you spend. That being said, it doesn't mean that you should be going to spend money on things you wouldn't already be buying, and you definitely don't want to spend more than you have. The way I think about using credit cards is just like I used to use my debit card in the past. In addition to that, a good thing about credit cards is that it helps you start to save up for things like travel. And in this case, Chase is a really good company for this. And if you look into the Chase trifecta or getting any Chase cards in general, you'll start to accumulate ultimate rewards points, which for me, I actually have 100,000 of, which transfers to $1,000+ of travel that I'm not going to use until I graduate. But it's really nice to have that already stockpiled up. If you want to learn more about this, go ahead and click up on one of these banners, whichever side of the screen it's on, so you can learn more from one of my previous videos. The last thing I do want to mention is that a credit card is really good if you have a serious emergency that you actually can't pay for up front. However, this is not a good reason to have a credit card, and I would never recommend getting a credit card just so you can spend frivolously. This ideology promotes going into credit card debt, which is not something that we promote on this channel. If you do end up using your credit card for emergencies, I would highly recommend that you do something like take a loan from your parents for the money that you put on your credit card so you can pay that off right away. Because if that goes on your credit history and you start accruing interest payments, that's going to be really detrimental to not only your credit score, but your bank account at the end of the day. Moving into my final thoughts, honestly, I think it's really only a good idea to get a credit card if you are a responsible person and you choose to use it like a debit card. As I just mentioned, never go into credit card debt. This is such a bad thing to do. And with the interest rates like 14 to 24% is generally typical, that is going to accrue into some big chunks of money in the future. And at the end of the day, I think a credit card is really good, not only for building your credit history, but just to get rewards for stuff that you would already be purchasing anyway. And not only that, but you'll be learning how to be more financially literate and responsible throughout this whole process. Also, you should look into credit card bonuses because those are pretty nice too. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please consider clicking the like button and subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you guys soon.